The HFY humans made it the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. Part 1. The JOKGF. Captain Jack Reynolds had seen many strange things during his 15 years in Earth's United Space Command, but nothing quite like this. He stood in the massive hangar bay of Galactic Alliance headquarters, his boots planted firmly on the polished floor, staring at what could only be described as a giant insult. Around him, the other human delegates shifted uncomfortably. The alien diplomats from the Crux Federation. Tall, elegant beings with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer under the bright lights, were smiling. Jack had spent enough time around aliens to know that their current expression was one of smug superiority. "This vessel is our gift to welcome humanity to the Galactic Alliance," announced Ambassador Trell, his translator device communicating the careful choice of words that didn't quite hide the mockery. What sat before them was barely recognizable as a spacecraft. It was a cobbled-together hulk of mismatched parts, outdated technology, and visible patch jobs. The ship was enormous, at least a kilometer long, but appeared to be assembled from the discarded parts of dozens of different alien vessels. "We know that humans are still developing their own deep space technology," Trell continued. "This will give you a head start." Jack heard the soft but sharp intake of breath from Admiral Yamamoto, standing at his right. The Admiral, a short, stern woman with steel-gray hair and a reputation for brutal honesty, leaned slightly toward Jack. "They're testing us," she whispered, her voice tight with controlled anger. "This is a political move. Give the new species garbage and see if they're desperate enough to accept it. If we take offense, we look ungrateful. If we accept, we look weak." Jack nodded slowly, his engineering mind already cataloging the vessel's many flaws, and, more importantly, its potential. The aliens had given them a junkyard, but it was a junkyard filled with technologies humans had never seen before. "Tell them we accept with gratitude," he said quietly. The Admiral raised an eyebrow, but gave a small nod. She stepped forward, her back straight, and delivered Earth's official response with perfect diplomatic grace. The Crux representatives couldn't hide their surprise, or their disappointment that the humans hadn't taken offense. They had clearly expected either an angry outburst or obvious humiliation. Instead, they got polite acceptance. "We will arrange for your technical teams to examine the vessel," Trell said, recovering quickly. "Perhaps you can salvage some useful components. We look forward to learning from your generous gift," Admiral Yamamoto replied, her face a mask of perfect diplomatic calm. As the formal part of the ceremony concluded, and the delegates began to mingle, Jack walked slowly around the enormous vessel. Up close, it looked even worse. Hull plates from at least 7 different design philosophies were patched together with visible wells. Some sections showed signs of battle damage, hastily repaired. The engine housing was a mismatch of technologies that looked like they had been forced to work together. "They didn't even try to make it look good," said a voice at his side. Jack turned to find Lisa Martins, Earth's top spacecraft engineer, staring up at the vessel with an expression that mixed disgust and fascination. "No," Jack agreed. "They wanted it to look exactly like what it is. Trash they didn't want." Lisa ran a hand through her short black hair, her eyes never leaving the ship. "Some of these components, I've never seen anything like them. That section there, I think it's from a Duraxian light cruiser. And that might be Zeth technology. They're giving us access to engineering we've only heard about." Jack smiled slowly. "They think they're humiliating us. They don't understand humans very well, do they?" "Clearly not," Lisa said, a matching smile spreading across her face as she caught his meaning. Within an hour, Jack had assembled a team of Earth's finest engineers, mechanics, and military specialists. Word had spread quickly, and volunteers were pouring in from every human ship docked at the Alliance station. The specialists stood in a loose semicircle before the massive scrap heap, eyes bright with the challenge before them. "Ladies and gentlemen, Jack said, his voice carrying easily through the hangar. "I'll be straight with you. This gift is meant as an insult. The Crux and their allies believe they're giving us garbage that we'll either have to reject and look ungrateful or accept and look weak." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but Jack raised a hand. "But here's what they don't understand about humans. Throughout our history, we've taken the scraps, the leftovers, the things others discarded, and turned them into something new. This ship," he gestured at the massive vessel behind him, "contains technologies from at least a dozen different species, technologies we've never had access to before." The murmurs changed tone, becoming excited as the implications sank in. "They've handed us a treasure trove of alien engineering, all in one convenient package," Jack continued. "They think we see a jump heap. I see the future of human space travel." By now, the team was fully engaged, eyes bright with the challenge. "We have 3 months before we're expected to report our progress to the Alliance Council," Jack explained. "In that time, I want this ship not just operational but exceptional. We'll keep the exterior looking exactly as it does now, let them think we're struggling. But inside, we're going to create something they never imagined possible." "And if they come to inspect our work?" asked Thomas Franklin, a weapons specialist with a reputation for creative solutions. Jack smiled. "We'll show them exactly what they expect to see. Humans fumbling with technology beyond their understanding. Dr. Morgan, you've studied alien psychology. Can you create a convincing display of human incompetence?" Alex Morgan, a tall, thin man with a perpetual look of distraction, straightened up. "Oh, absolutely, Captain. Nothing convinces someone of their superiority, quite like watching others fail exactly as expected." The first team meetings lasted well into the night cycle of the Alliance station. As the humans began to understand what they had been given, excitement grew. The ship, which needed a name, everyone agreed, wasn't just a collection of parts. It was a library of technological approaches, a physical encyclopedia of how different species had solved the same problems in different ways. By the end of the first week, work was proceeding in 3 shifts around the clock. The Crux diplomats occasionally walked past the hangar bay, watching with thinly veiled amusement as humans appeared to struggle with the alien technology. What they didn't see was what happened when they weren't watching. The rapid reverse engineering. The breakthroughs. The moments of discovery as human ingenuity found connections between technologies never meant to work together. 1 month in, during a private meeting in what had become their command center, Lisa presented the first full schematics of what the ship could become. "If we're right about how these systems can interface," she said, pointing to a complex holographic display, "this vessel won't just be functional. It will be revolutionary." Jack nodded, studying the plans. "Then let's make it happen. And let's make sure our new friends in the Alliance never see it coming." "We need a name," Thomas said, looking up at the ship through the viewport. "Something fitting." Jack thought for a moment, then smiled. "Phoenix," he said, "from Earth mythology. The bird that rises from the ashes. Because that's exactly what we're going to do." 3 months passed in a blur of activity. The massive hangar bay that housed the Phoenix had been transformed into a hive of human innovation. Workstations crowded every available space. Teams of specialists worked around the clock, their faces tired but eyes bright with excitement. The Alliance diplomats visited once a week to check on humanity's progress with their generous gift. Each time, they were escorted through carefully prepared areas where humans appeared to struggle with basic alien technologies. Each time, they left with barely hidden smiles of superiority. What they didn't understand was that behind this carefully maintained facade of difficulty, humans were doing what they did best: adapting, improvising, and overcoming. Captain Jack Reynolds walked through the real work areas after the latest diplomatic visit ended. These sections were off-limits to non-humans, protected by security measures that Thomas had assured him were undetectable by Alliance scanning technology. "Report," Jack said, as he entered the main engineering bay. Lisa Martinez slid out from under a console, her face streaked with grease and her eyes red from lack of sleep. Despite her exhaustion, she grinned widely. The power distribution system is a complete mess of incompatible technologies, she said, wiping her hands on an already dirty cloth. They gave us components from at least 8 different species, none of which were designed to work together. That doesn't sound promising, Jack noted. That's the beauty of it, Lisa laughed. We figured out how to make them talk to each other. The Crux use a power system based on controlled plasma reactions. The Zeth use quantum field manipulation. Both are incredibly efficient in different ways. We've created an interface that lets them work together. And the result? We're now operating at 300% of what their specs said was possible, Lisa said proudly. The Phoenix can generate more power than a standard Alliance battleship while using half the fuel. Jack nodded, impressed. What about defensive systems? Thomas Franklin led him to a large circular room dominated by a holographic projection of the ship. These were outdated point defense turrets from at least 5 different species, he explained, highlighting sections of the ship's outer hull. Each one works on different principles: projectile weapons, energy beams, particle accelerators. The aliens thought this would make them impossible to coordinate, added Raj Patel, the ship's new tactical officer. But you found a way, Jack stated rather than asked. Thomas grinned. We've integrated them into a unified network and increased their targeting efficiency by an order of magnitude. Where an Alliance vessel needs to choose which defense system to bring online, we can use all of them simultaneously. Jack studied the hologram. From the outside, the Phoenix still looked like a patchwork monster, a cobbled-together heap of mismatched parts. You've kept the external appearance unchanged. Exactly as ordered, Thomas confirmed. We've even added a few more obvious patch jobs to make it look worse. Good, Jack said. Let them continue to underestimate us. The Phoenix was being transformed from within while maintaining its scrapheap appearance. The aliens had given them a patchwork of technologies from across the galaxy, never considering that this gave humans access to scientific principles they might have taken decades to discover on their own. In the medical bay, Dr. Maria Wilson had combined 3 different alien healing technologies into a system that could treat injuries and illnesses from any known species. In the living quarters, environmental systems from 4 different worlds now worked together to create perfectly adaptable living conditions. But the most significant breakthrough came 2 weeks later, when Dr. Alex Morgan, the theoretical physicist, came running into Jack's makeshift office, breathless with excitement. His normally neat appearance was disheveled, his hair standing on end, as if he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly. "Captain, you need to see this right now," he exclaimed, his words tumbling out in a rush. Jack followed him to a sealed lab deep within the Phoenix. Inside, a team of scientists huddled around a pulsing device that seemed to bend the light around it in strange ways. "The propulsion system they gave us," Alex explained, trying to slow his words. "It's a jumble of 3 different FTL technologies. They assumed they would be incompatible, so they gave us outdated versions of each." "And?" Jack prompted, sensing the man was building to something big. "And they were right. These systems were never meant to work together," Alex continued. "But when we tried to isolate each one for study, we discovered something incredible. The resonance patterns between them create a completely new form of spatial displacement." Jack leaned forward. "What does that mean in practical terms, Doctor?" Dr. Morgan grinned, looking like an excited child despite his 50 years. "It means we can move faster and more precisely than any ship in the known galaxy. The Crux ships use fold space technology, creating a temporary wormhole. The Zeth use quantum slipstreams. The Duraxians use something like our theoretical Alcubierre drive. Each has limitations. But together," Jack asked. "Together, they create something entirely new," Alex explained. "We can enter fold space, but control our exit point with quantum precision while maintaining a bubble of normal space around the ship. In simple terms, we can go anywhere in Alliance space in a fraction of the time it takes their fastest ships. Jack whistled softly. And they have no idea this is even possible. How could they? Lisa said, joining them in the lab. They've all been developing their technologies separately for thousands of years. None of them thought to combine approaches from different evolutionary paths. That's the human advantage, Jack realized. We're newcomers. We don't have centuries of tradition telling us what's impossible. As the Phoenix's transformation continued, the crew began running stealth drills, learning how to operate their unique systems. The ship was unlike anything humans had ever built, or rather, rebuilt. It contained technologies from a dozen alien species, all working together in ways their original creators had never imagined. 5 months into the project, Admiral Yamamoto visited for an inspection. She walked through the ship in silence, listening to Jack's reports and observing the crew at work. The Alliance Council is starting to wonder why we've been so accepting of their gift, she said finally. They expected us to complain by now, to admit we couldn't make it work. Let them wonder a little longer, Jack suggested. We're almost ready. Ready for what exactly? The Admiral asked sharply. Jack gestured around them at the ship that looked like junk on the outside, but was becoming a marvel within. Ready to show the galaxy what happens when you give humans a challenge. Ready to reveal what we can create from their scraps. The Admiral's stern expression softened slightly. You've done remarkable work here, Captain. But remember, our position in the Alliance is still precarious. We need allies, not enemies. Trust me, Admiral, Jack said confidently. When the Phoenix finally shows what it can do, we won't lack for allies. They might have given us this ship as a joke, but I promise you, nobody will be laughing when we're finished. The summons from Galactic Alliance headquarters came 6 months into the Phoenix's transformation. Captain Jack Reynolds was in the engine room, helping Lisa test the new hybrid drive system, when Admiral Yamamoto's voice came through his communicator. Captain Reynolds, your presence is required immediately at Alliance Central. Bring your senior officers. Jack exchanged a look with Lisa. The Admiral's voice had a tension he hadn't heard before. 90 minutes later, Jack sat with his command team in the Grand Alliance Council chamber. The circular room was filled with representatives from dozens of worlds, their voices a mix of different languages as translators worked overtime. The mood was grim. At the center of the chamber, a holographic display showed a star system Jack didn't recognize. Several planets glowed red. The Alliance High Commander, a tall blue-skinned being named Cole, raised his 4 arms for silence. The chamber quickly grew quiet. A new threat has emerged at our borders, he announced, his translator giving his words a flat, emotionless quality that contrasted with the obvious concern on his alien face. A previously unknown species calling themselves the Harvesters has attacked 3 border systems. Images appeared in the hologram. Strange black ships moving in perfect formation. Cities burning. Civilians being rounded up and marched onto transport vessels. Their technology appears to be highly advanced, continued Cole. Our standard defensive fleet at Nexus 7 was defeated in less than an hour. 2 more systems have fallen since then. What do they want? Asked a representative from a world Jack didn't recognize. Resources, slaves, territory. The usual, replied Cole bitterly. They sent one message before they began their attack. The hologram shifted to show a strange being. It looked somewhat insect-like, with a hard exoskeleton and multiple limbs, but with an unsettlingly intelligent gaze. Your territories are inefficiently managed, the Harvester stated in the recording. Your populations are not properly utilized. We will correct these inefficiencies. Resistance will result in greater resource expenditure. The council erupted into shouted questions and demands. How many ships do they have? Where did they come from? We must form a unified defense fleet. Ambassador Trell of the Crux Federation, who had presented the gift ship to humanity months ago, rose to speak. Our long-range scouts report at least 30 Harvester vessels moving toward the Aridu system. If Aridu falls, they will have a clear path to 3 core worlds. Admiral Yamamoto leaned toward Jack. This is bad. The Alliance military is spread too thin. Most species maintain their own defense forces and never developed unified tactics. Jack nodded, thinking quickly. The Phoenix wasn't fully completed yet, but its major systems were operational. And the harvesters hadn't encountered humans before. They wouldn't know what to expect. As the council debated strategies, none of which seemed promising, Jack made his decision. He stood, drawing surprised looks from many who had forgotten the human delegation was even present. Earth will respond to this threat, he said simply. The council chamber erupted in a mixture of laughter and outrage. With what? Sneered Ambassador Trell. Your recycling project. Precisely, Jack replied, his face betraying nothing. High Commander Call studied him with interest. Captain Reynolds, while we appreciate Earth's willingness to assist, this is not a situation for untested vessels or crews. The harvesters have already destroyed some of our most advanced ships. With respect, Commander, Jack responded. Sometimes the unexpected is exactly what's needed. The Phoenix may not look impressive, but appearances can be deceiving. After much debate, the mission was authorized, not because the Council believed humans could help, but because they had nothing to lose by sending the newcomers on what was essentially a suicide mission. We'll depart immediately, Jack told his team as they left the chamber. Notify all crew to report to the Phoenix within 2 hours. Wait, Thomas said quietly. Are we really ready for this? The weapons systems are operational, but we haven't had time for proper combat drills. And the drive system still has some stability issues, added Lisa. Jack looked at each of them in turn. The Phoenix may not be perfect yet, but it's the most advanced ship in the Alliance, even if we're the only ones who know it. Those people on Aridu don't have time for us to run more tests. Back at the hangar, the Phoenix was a hive of activity as the crew prepared for departure. Despite the rush, Jack noticed many of them seemed excited rather than afraid. This was the moment they had been working toward, the chance to prove what humans could do. From the outside, the ship still looked like the same cobbled-together hulk of mismatched parts. Jack had insisted that its external appearance remain unchanged, and the engineering team had obliged by keeping all their innovations hidden beneath the patchwork exterior. 6 hours later, the Phoenix departed Earth's orbit with little fanfare. Only those involved in the project knew what the ship had become. A small group of Alliance officials watched from the station, some with pity in their eyes, clearly expecting the humans never to return. In the Phoenix's command center, a marvel of integrated technologies that bore no resemblance to the chaotic mess it had been 6 months ago, Jack addressed the crew through the ship-wide communication system. Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into combat against an enemy that has already defeated some of the Alliance's best ships and crews. They don't know we exist yet. They have no idea what humans are capable of. He paused, looking around at his senior officers. Let's show them. The journey to Aridu took just 14 hours, a trip that would have taken standard Alliance vessels at least 2 days. The Phoenix's hybrid drive system performed even better than expected, slipping through space in ways that defied conventional physics. As they approached the Aridu system, Raj at the tactical station reported 6 harvester vessels detected at the edge of the system. They appear to be setting up some kind of blockade. Are they aware of us? Jack asked. I don't think so, Raj replied. Our approach vector is unusual due to our drive system, and our external profile is confusing their sensors. They are probably picking us up as space debris. Jack smiled grimly. Perfect. Let's keep our distance for now. I want to observe their tactics before we engage. For the next hour, the Phoenix shadowed the harvester fleet, gathering data on their movement patterns and communication methods. The black ships moved with eerie coordination, suggesting some kind of hive mind or central control system. I think I've identified their command vessel, Raj announced finally. The others maintain constant communication with it and adjust their positions based on its movements. Jack nodded. Then that's our primary target. Battle stations, everyone. Let's show them what human creativity looks like. The Phoenix moved silently into position, still undetected by the Harvester fleet. Jack gave the order, and the ship's engines surged with power. In an instant, they were among the enemy vessels, the Phoenix's hybrid weapon systems firing in perfect coordination. What followed astonished even the crew. The Phoenix moved with impossible speed and precision, its hybrid drive system allowing maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Its weapons, a synthesis of technologies never meant to work together, tore through the Harvester defenses as if they were paper. 3 enemy ships were destroyed in the first pass. The others began to react, turning to face the unexpected threat. But they were too slow. The Phoenix was already changing position, attacking from another angle. Their weapons are attempting to lock onto us, Thomas reported from his station, but our hybrid shield configuration is confusing their targeting systems. On the main view screen, Jack watched as the Harvester ships tried to form a defensive formation. They had clearly never encountered anything like the Phoenix before. Target their command vessel, he ordered. The Phoenix's main weapons array, a combination of Crux energy beams, Zeth quantum disruptors, and human-designed targeting systems, fired as one. The Harvester command ship shields flared brightly, then failed. A second volley tore the vessel apart. The effect on the remaining Harvester ships was immediate. Their perfect coordination collapsed. 2 collided in their confusion, while the last attempted to flee. "Captain," Raj called out, excitement in his voice, "we're receiving transmissions from Alliance observation posts in the system. They're cheering for us." Jack allowed himself a small smile. "Send a message to Alliance headquarters. Tell them the Aridu system is secure and request instructions for our next target." As the Phoenix moved deeper into the system, the crew worked with renewed energy and purpose. They weren't just testing theories anymore. They had proven what their ship could do, what humans could do. And somewhere in Alliance headquarters, Jack knew, a lot of beings who had laughed at the humans and their recycling project weren't laughing anymore. News of the Phoenix's victory spread quickly through the Alliance. The battle recordings, captured by observation posts in the Aridu system, were played again and again in briefing rooms and command centers across Alliance space. Everyone wanted to see how a single patchwork vessel had defeated 6 Harvester ships when entire Alliance squadrons had failed. For the next 3 weeks, the Phoenix led the defense against the Harvester invasion. Each engagement revealed new capabilities as the crew pushed their hybrid systems to their limits and beyond. Human adaptability proved to be the perfect counter to the Harvester's rigid tactics. After their 5th victory, Jack received a direct communication from High Commander Cole. "Captain Reynolds," the blue-skinned alien said, his translator unable to hide the amazement in his voice. "Your ship has accomplished what our strategists thought impossible. The Harvesters are retreating from Alliance space." Jack nodded, keeping his face neutral despite the pride he felt. "We were in the right place at the right time, Commander." "Indeed," Cole replied, not sounding convinced. "The Alliance Council has requested your presence. The Phoenix is to return to headquarters immediately." When the Phoenix finally docked at Alliance headquarters, it was met not with the expected diplomatic politeness, but with genuine celebration. Species that had looked down on humans now lined the viewing galleries, watching in fascination as the crew disembarked. Jack and his senior officers were escorted directly to the council chamber. Unlike their previous visit, this time they entered to applause from many of the representatives. At the center of the chamber stood Admiral Yamamoto, looking prouder than Jack had ever seen her. "Captain Reynolds and the crew of the Phoenix have demonstrated exceptional bravery and skill," she announced to the assembly. "Earth is honored to have contributed to the defense of the Alliance." High Commander Cole stepped forward. "The Alliance owes a debt to Earth and its remarkable ship. The Phoenix has become a symbol of what can be achieved through unexpected means." Jack noticed Ambassador Trell shifting uncomfortably in his seat. The crux diplomat who had presented the gift ship with such obvious mockery now couldn't meet Jack's eyes. After the public ceremony, Jack was summoned to a smaller meeting room. Inside waited Ambassador Trell, along with representatives from several of the major alliance powers. As soon as the doors closed, Trell confronted Jack. "This was never supposed to happen," he hissed, his translator struggling to keep up with his agitated speech. "That ship was assembled from obsolete, incompatible technologies. It should have been impossible to make it combat-worthy." Jack smiled slightly. The difference between impossible and merely difficult is often just a matter of perspective, Ambassador. You gave us access to the accumulated technological history of a dozen species. To you, it was garbage. To us, it was an education. How did you do it? Asked another council member, a reptilian being from a world Jack couldn't name. Our engineers have reviewed the battle footage. The Phoenix's performance exceeds anything in our records. Human creativity, Jack replied simply. We looked at your technologies with fresh eyes. Where you saw limitations and incompatibilities, we saw opportunities to try something new. Why maintain the appearance of a scrap heap? The reptilian pressed. You could have rebuilt the exterior to match your internal improvements. Tactical advantage, Jack explained. Your mistake was assuming that because something looks weak, it is weak. Humans learned long ago that appearances can be deceiving. The meeting continued for hours as the Alliance representatives tried to understand exactly what the humans had accomplished. Jack answered their questions carefully, revealing enough to satisfy them, but keeping certain key innovations secret. Admiral Yamamoto had been clear. Some advantages were to remain Earth's alone, at least for now. The real revelation came the next day, when Alliance engineers were finally permitted a limited tour inside the Phoenix. What they found wasn't just clever integration of existing technologies. It was innovation. Humans hadn't just made the disparate systems work together. They had created entirely new applications and principles. In the main engineering bay, Lisa Martinez explained their approach to a group of stunned Alliance engineers. The first thing we did was stop thinking about these as Crux systems, or Zeth systems, or Diraxian systems, she said, pointing to the hybrid power core. We looked at the underlying principles instead. But these technologies evolved from completely different scientific traditions, argued a Crux engineer. They operate on fundamentally different principles. Yes and no, Lisa replied. The laws of physics are universal. Your different approaches to space travel, energy generation, or weapons technology are just different ways of manipulating the same forces. Dr. Alex Morgan expanded on this as he showed the Alliance scientists the hybrid drive system. You've all been developing technology in isolation, building on your own traditions. Humans have the advantage of seeing patterns across different approaches. Where you saw incompatibility, we saw opportunity. A Zeth scientist shook his head in disbelief. But combining quantum field manipulation with tachyon acceleration should create a catastrophic feedback loop. Our simulations proved this centuries ago. Your simulations were based on the assumption that the two systems would interact directly, Alex explained. We created an interface layer, a buffer that transforms the output of one system into something the other can use as input. As the tour continued, Jack watched the Alliance engineers' expressions change from skepticism to understanding and finally to excitement. They were beginning to grasp not just what humans had accomplished, but how it might change their own approach to technology. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Admiral Yamamoto met with the Alliance High Council. The discussion was about humanity's new status within the Alliance, what had begun as a joke, giving the primitive newcomers a pile of garbage, had turned into something none of them had expected. Your species has proven itself remarkable, High Commander Cole told her. The question now is what role Earth will play in the Alliance going forward. Earth seeks partnership, not domination, the Admiral replied diplomatically. But we do expect to be treated as equals. Back on the Phoenix, Jack found Thomas Franklin in the weapons control room, working on yet another improvement. The Alliance engineers left. Thomas asked without looking up from his work. Finally, Jack replied, "I think we just about blew their minds." Thomas grinned. "Just wait until they see what we're planning next." "I don't think they're ready for that yet," Jack laughed. "Some of them are still trying to understand what we've already done. Their mistake was thinking we'd use their technologies the way they do," Thomas said. "They gave us puzzle pieces from a dozen different puzzles and expected us to give up. Instead, we made our own picture." Jack nodded, looking around at what had once been a laughable gift and was now the most advanced vessel in known space. "And it's just the beginning. The Phoenix is only our first step." That night, as Jack looked out at the stars from his quarters, he thought about how quickly things had changed. 6 months ago, humans had been seen as barely worth noticing, primitive newcomers to be tolerated and tested. Now those same beings were looking at humans with new eyes, some with respect, some with fear, some with excitement about what might come next, all because they had underestimated what humans could do with scraps. And if there was one thing Jack knew for certain, it was that underestimating humans was always a mistake. 1 year after receiving their gift, humanity had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. The Harvester threat had been neutralized, with the Phoenix leading a mixed fleet of Alliance vessels in the final battle that drove the invaders back beyond the Outer Rim. The Phoenix itself had become something of a legend. Ships from across the Alliance would change course just to catch a glimpse of the vessel that still looked like a patchwork of mismatched parts, but had proven more powerful than any purpose-built warship. At the massive space dock orbiting Earth, Captain Jack Reynolds stood at a viewport, watching as workers swarmed around the Phoenix. After a year of pushing its systems beyond their design limits, the ship was finally getting a proper overhaul. "They're still keeping the exterior looking like scrap," observed Lisa Martinez, coming to stand beside him. Jack smiled. "Admiral's orders. She says it's become our trademark." Lisa laughed. "A year ago, they gave us garbage to mock us. Now everyone wants to copy our design philosophy." It was true. Alliance engineers from a dozen worlds were now studying the Phoenix, trying to understand how humans had achieved what their own species had thought impossible. Some had even begun experimenting with hybrid technologies of their own, though none had yet matched what the Phoenix could do. Captain Reynolds, a young communications officer, approached. "Admiral Yamamoto requests your presence at Alliance headquarters for the ceremony. Your transport leaves in 30 minutes. Jack nodded. "Tell her I'll be there." The ceremony was to be the formal recognition of Earth's contribution to the Alliance, and more importantly, the official announcement of humanity's new status within the galactic community. 3 hours later, Jack stood in his dress uniform in the Grand Hall of Alliance headquarters. The massive room was filled to capacity with representatives from every Alliance world. At the front of the hall, a platform held the High Council members, along with Admiral Yamamoto and the senior officers of the Phoenix. High Commander Cole stepped forward to address the assembly. 1 year ago, the Alliance faced perhaps its greatest threat, an enemy that seemed unstoppable, with technology beyond our ability to counter. And in our darkest hour, aid came from the most unexpected source. He gestured toward the human delegation. Earth, one of our newest members, a world that many regarded as primitive and undeveloped, showed us something we had forgotten. They showed us that innovation often comes not from having the most advanced technology, but from having the vision to use what is available in new ways. A murmur of agreement ran through the crowd. Today, we not only honor the crew of the Phoenix for their bravery and skill, but we recognize Earth's unique contribution to our shared future. The Phoenix will be commissioned as the first in a new class of Alliance vessels, ships that will incorporate the hybrid approach pioneered by humans. Jack glanced at Admiral Yamamoto. She gave him a small nod, her normally stern face showing the barest hint of a smile. After the ceremony, There was a reception where representatives from worlds that had once looked down on humans now eagerly sought conversations with Earth's delegates. Jack found himself surrounded by beings eager to discuss the Phoenix and its innovations. Is it true that you combine Zeth quantum fields with Diraxian tachyon acceleration? Asked an engineer from a world Jack couldn't pronounce. And your weapon systems use crux targeting algorithms, but Tellarite power distribution, added another. Jack answered their questions patiently, though he kept certain details to himself. Some of the Phoenix's most important innovations would remain Earth's advantage, at least for now. As the reception continued, Jack noticed Ambassador Trell standing alone at the edge of the room. The crux diplomat, who had presented the gift ship with such obvious mockery a year ago, now seemed uncertain of his place. Jack excused himself from the group and walked over to the ambassador. "Enjoying the celebration, Ambassador?" he asked. Trell seemed startled, then composed himself. "Captain Reynolds, I was not certain you would wish to speak with me, given our history." Jack shrugged. "History is what we make of it, kind of like spaceships." Trell was quiet for a moment, then spoke. "I must admit, Captain, that I underestimated your species. We all did. What was intended as a diplomatic slight has become the foundation of a stronger alliance." "That's the thing about humans, Ambassador," Jack replied. "We've survived and thrived on our world by turning problems into solutions. We don't see limitations, we see possibilities." The ambassador studied him. A valuable perspective, one the galaxy apparently needed. Their conversation was interrupted by Admiral Yamamoto, who approached with High Commander Cole. "Captain Reynolds," the Admiral said, "the Commander has a proposal I think you'll find interesting." Cole nodded. "The Alliance is establishing a new research division focused on hybrid technologies. We would like Earth to lead this initiative, with you as its first director." Jack raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Me? I'm just a ship captain, not a research scientist." "You're the human who saw potential where others saw only scrap," Cole replied. "That is exactly the vision we need." Later that evening, Jack returned to the Phoenix. Despite the offer from High Command, which he was still considering, this ship remained his home. He walked the corridors, nodding to crew members as he passed. Many were new faces, Alliance engineers and scientists assigned to learn from the human approach. In the main observation lounge, he found Thomas and Lisa staring out at the stars. "So," Thomas said without turning, "Research Director Reynolds has a nice ring to it." "News travels fast," Jack commented dryly. "Are you going to accept?" Lisa asked. Jack sighed. "I don't know. Part of me wants to stay with the Phoenix, keep pushing what we can do with her. But another part of me sees the bigger picture." "Which is?" Thomas prompted. "That what we did with the Phoenix isn't just about one ship. It's about a whole new way of thinking. If I can help spread that throughout the Alliance." Jack trailed off, considering the possibilities. "Funny how things work out," Lisa mused. "They gave us their garbage thinking we'd fail. Instead, we're now teaching them how to build better ships." Jack smiled. "That's the human way. We take what we're given and make it into what we need." Above them, visible through the transparent dome of the observation lounge, Earth shone like a blue jewel. Around it orbited ships from a dozen Alliance worlds, come to learn from the species they had once dismissed. The Phoenix itself, docked at the main station, still looked like a patchwork of mismatched parts. But now, that appearance was worn with pride. It was a reminder to all who saw it. Never underestimate what humans can build from scraps. As Jack gazed at his home planet, he thought about the journey of the past year. From mockery to respect, from outsiders to leaders, all because humans had done what they had always done throughout their history, turned challenges into opportunities. "What do you think happens next?" Thomas asked quietly. Jack smiled. "We keep building. We keep exploring. We keep showing the galaxy what humans can do." And somewhere out in that galaxy, Jack knew there were other challenges waiting. other impossibilities to overcome, other scraps to transform into wonders. He couldn't wait to get started.